Welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to talk about managing backups. Backups are super important, and we're going to talk about your host and what they provide for backups, managed backups, AWS and backup. WP up is one of my favorite combinations and most cost-effective combinations, and then Jetpack backups. All right, so let's get started. You may be saying, hey, with my host, I get backups. Why do I need to worry about backups? You want to check with your host. Most likely, yes, they do provide backups. But you want to make sure that they're running backups as often as you need. Some hosts just do it once per day. Some do it once a week. Some don't do it at all on a regular basis, and they depend on you to go in and do the backup. So is it a backup on demand? Is it an interval backup? And what combination of that? Ideally, you should be able to do both types. An on-demand backup, so if you need to back up before a major install of Core, or you need to back up before updating a plugin, you want to be able to do that on-demand backup. But then you also want it to do an interval backup once a day, once a week, so that if something goes awry on your site, you can come back to it. So some hosts provide this, some hosts don't. The other issue with host backup is that if your host crashes, so if the whole host goes down, then your backup also goes down. So it's a really best practice to have a backup on your host if they provide it, and then also off-site. So managed backups are a time machine for your website. Managed backups will occur on a regular basis at a certain frequency and interval without any need for you to log in or set anything. This is the best kind of backup because you can set it and forget it, and you will only need to access it when you need to. AWS and WP up is one of my favorite combinations for backup and storage. I'm currently backing up my client sites, probably about 10 different sites, each with about a gig per backup, and I'm maintaining 3 backups at a time, and it's costing me about $2 a month. So it's super cost effective. The plugin itself is free. And so you're just paying for the space on AWS. The process to set this up is a little tricky. It's just going in and finding your access key and your secret key. These are things that AWS gives you, but you do need to know where to get that. So we're going to go through that process. And then I will show you Jetpack backups, which is a paid option, also fairly cheap, especially if you just do the backups. And it's just a click and setup. So very easy. So do 2 different options. First, we have the AWS backups, and then we will do Jetpack backups. All right, so here we have our Techie Mama dashboard, and the first thing we want to do is go into plugins. I have already installed the plugin that we need, so we're just going to go and activate it. All right, so we're looking for back WP up. We're going to go ahead and activate it. one thing I like about BackWP Up is that they have a lot of different integrations. So you don't have to use AWS. Again, AWS is probably one of the most cost effective because it is so cheap. But if you have a lot of space with one of the other options, you can totally set those up as well. All right, so this is our welcome page. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into add a new job. We can give it a name. So Techie Mama Backup. We're going to choose the job tasks. This job is a database backup, a file backup, a WordPress XML export, an installed plugins list, and check database tables. So you can pick any combination of these. I recommend the database backup and the file backup. The WordPress XML export is actually really nice as well because that is what you need to import into a new site if you needed it. And then the plugins list, with those two together, you would have everything you need to at least get your content and your plugins back and set up. So I recommend the first four. Check database tables, doesn't hurt. We'll just leave it at that. And then you can give it a custom name. I like to add a little prefix to the name so that I know whose backup it is, especially when I'm keeping track of so many. So I'll add Techie Mama Demos. The archive format, we're going to leave it as zip. Here's the job destination, so you can back up to a folder on your server. So again, this is going to be the same issue as your host backups where it's on the same server. You can have it sent to email, even though these backups can get very large, so it may not work too well. FTP, Dropbox, an S3 service, Microsoft Azure. These are all big just storage offerings. Rackspace Cloud Files and SugarSync. So lots of different options. For the AWS setup, we're going to click on S3 service and we'll go ahead and click on Save Changes. Okay. So now we're just going to go one by one through these tabs. So first up is the schedule. And on here we're going to run manually or we're going to run on a WordPress cron, which means it's just going to run on a certain interval. So we're going to run on the WordPress cron. There's also additional information to start with WP CLI and command line, but we're not going to worry about those. The scheduler type, I recommend just basic. Advanced gives you a lot more options to kind of pick and choose. It basically sets up what's called a cron, which is a scheduled execution. We're just going to go basic, and I recommend at least a weekly, if not a daily. Depending on your resources and what you need, you may want to pick one or the other. Hourly is probably not needed unless you want to run something as you're making changes or something. So we'll click on Save Changes. The database backup, we have all of the different tables that are running, and it automatically checked all of the ones that are related to this install of WordPress. And we have a backup name here, and I like to go ahead and zip it. That just helps with the compression. So we'll go in and zip it and click on Save. If you know for sure that there's different ones that you don't want, you can uncheck them and then they won't be added to the backup. All right, so under Files, This is your files directory. So these are your plain files are on the server. Public underscore HTML is most likely where everything is going to be. So you can exclude certain folders. I don't recommend excluding these two. That's part of the install. WP content is where a lot of the content gets stored, like images and so forth. We can exclude the upgrade. That probably just has some backups or the upgrade files for plugins and core. And then your plugins. So if there's any plugins that you want to exclude, you can do that. And your themes, if there are any plugins that you want to exclude, we're going to exclude all of the 20 themes. So we know we're not using those, and the BB theme. And then your uploads folder. So if there's any ones that you want to remove from the uploads folder, you can do that as well. A lot of times there might be a backups folder in the uploads folder, which is very, very large. And so you want to make sure that you exclude that. Last but not least, all of these are pretty much can be set to the defaults. Any extra folders to back up, if you have any extra folders that you know, you can set to not back up the thumbnails. If you have any kind of SVN or Git or hidden files, you may want to exclude those. By default, it includes a whole bunch, so you probably won't need to add anything. Then it has all the special files. So these are all kind of the config files. Definitely want to do that. And if you have installation in kind of a special folder, then you'll want to check this. But for the most part, you'll just have the regular setup. Okay, let's go to XML export. So this export just has all of your what's called post types, your content post types. So these are posts, pages, templates, feedback, stories, etc. So we probably want all content, but you can change that if you need. And then again, we have the file compression option. So we'll just do a zip file to keep it nice and small. And then lastly, our plugin list. Here we have the file name again, and then on this one, it's just a text file, so it won't get very large, but you can zip it if you like, or you can leave it as none. Okay, last but not least, this is going to be the one where we have to go set up an S3 service. So we're going to go over here. On the AWS page, we're going to click on create an AWS account. That's going to take us to a new screen. We will enter in our email address. The password, and let's give ourselves a account name. And you can see that from time to time they do offer some great promos, so we could get theoretically the first 12 months free. So we'll click on continue, and we'll agree and create the account and continue. And then we need some billing information. As we create our account, it will have us verify our account, so via text message or a phone call, and we'll go from there. All right, we're going to do the free plan. We're going to sign into the console. Okay, so now we are in our console, and this is where we can set up what's called an S3 bucket. So we're going to type in S3, or we can also find it under storage, S3. And it will kind of guide us to everything that we need. So we'll create a bucket. You can have different buckets for different things. So if you want to separate out your backups, you can set up different buckets, or you might have a bucket for backups and a bucket for, you know, some files that you need to keep track of, whatever you want to do. So we'll call it backup. And then the region, I usually try and get something that's the closest to me. So I'm going to do US West, Northern California. And if you have other buckets, you can definitely go in and copy the settings from the other bucket. So we'll click on next. You do have to have a unique name for the bucket name across all of S3. So backup's not going to work. So let's do Techie Mama demo. All right, let's see if that works. That one already exists. All right, demo. There we go. You actually don't need to do any of these advanced options. If you want to go through and check the advanced options, you're more than welcome to, but at this point I would just click on next and then next again. This is going to make the bucket private, so nobody will be able to view the bucket. And create bucket. All right, so now we have our bucket, and you can go in and upload files manually, but what we want to do is get some security credentials so that we can make it connect with our WordPress site. All right, to get the security credentials that we need for our website, what we're going to do is go up to our username and go to my security credentials. And we're going to create access keys. So click on the access keys folder, and we're going to create new access key. So we've created it. We're going to show the access key, and these are the two pieces of information that we're going to need. You can download the key file and place it in a safe spot. You can write it down. There's a lot of different options. I'm going to go in and copy these two, and we're going to look at the setup in Back WP App. Okay, so now we are back on our dashboard. We're in Back WP App. We are going to go and select an S3 service. So this first one is, where is our server? So we're gonna pick Amazon S3, Northern California. And then we need our access key. So we're going to put in our access key and our secret key. And it recognized, once we put in our information, that our bucket is here, and we can create a folder in the bucket. So Techie Mom demos or backup or whatever you would want to add there. I again do kind of a shorthand file names so that I can keep track of that. How many files do you want to keep before it's deleted? I like keeping 3 files before the last one was deleted. You can modify that how you want. That's just my settings that I have, but you can keep 1, you can keep 2, you can keep 15. Definitely just set it to something that you think you would need. Most likely you want the most recent backup to do a restore, but you keep 2 or 3 usually so that you can go back in time just in case one is corrupt. you can keep going back. Or if you're making a lot of changes all the time, keeping more than one lets you kind of pick and choose which one you want to restore from. All right, and we're going to save changes. And now we can click on Run Now. So as you can see, there's a couple of different settings and setup needed for AWS and Back WP Up. Again, this is the most cost effective. I have way more, 10 times more what a normal site would take, and it's costing me $2.50. So that is for sure one setup and one very affordable setup. Next, we're going to go in and look at Jetpack backups. So Jetpack is a great offering. We've talked about it already. We will in future lessons as well. And Jetpack offers two different options for backups. They offer a $9 and a $29 monthly plan that comes with a lot of features. And then they also offer a plan starting at $3 a month just for backups. So let's take a look at what that looks like. Go back to our dashboard. All right, so we are going to go into my plan. Here we have the Jetpack free. Currently I just have free. You can see all the different things that we have in Jetpack. And we're going to go to upgrade Jetpack. So here we have the monthly and yearly for premium and professional. And then we have what's the Jetpack solutions, and that's the monthly and yearly backup options. And for some reason, I'm looking at things in a different currency, but that's all right. So we have $280 for per month, which equals about $3 per month, or 18, which I believe is about $20 per month for our daily backups or real-time backups. And then on the premium, we get daily backups, and on the professional, we get real-time backups. So I'm going to go ahead and upgrade to premium. I'll click on upgrade. All right, so here's our thank you for your purchase. Has lots of different information. All right, so we have a security checklist. Again, Jetpack Premium has a lot more than just the backups, so you'll have a lot more features that you can enable and try out. But what we want to do is set up backups. So we're going to go in and find where we have our backups. So under Jetpack and backup. So once we pay, you can see that we get a notification that there's no backups available yet, but one will be available within the next 24 hours.